Okay, to start this video on actually installing the planters on your wall, I just wanted to show you this little demo piece of drywall that I have, because I've heard a lot of feedback from different customers that they're worried that the nails are too small or that they wouldn't hold up in the drywall, and so they use screws instead. And by all means, if that is your feeling, even after this video, totally feel free to use the screws. They are more sturdy, and we did include them for exactly this reason. But I wanted to show you our thinking behind the nails. So the nails, in my opinion, are useful because they only leave a tiny hole, so that can be useful for anybody who's renting their apartment. Oftentimes, landlords will overlook the fact that you just put a little nail hole somewhere versus that you drilled into the drywall and put a plug in there. That's usually something that's going to need to be patched up afterwards. But the thinking behind the nail is we wanted to model it after picture hanging installation or picture hanging hooks. So those are often like a nail that goes in at an angle, and then there's a strip of metal that hangs right at the base of the nail and hangs down, and then there's a hook that comes up. And with those picture hanging hooks, oftentimes with just a tiny little nail, they can hold up to 30 pounds. And the reason for that is that when you apply the weight of the object at the base of the nail and the nail's going into the drywall at an angle, it's actually really strong. So that's why in the instructions we mentioned it's absolutely key to put the nail in at an angle. And the other thing that's really important is you actually want to tap the nail so it goes pretty far into the drywall. So it's maybe only 1/4 inch off the drywall. The reason for that is the head of the nail is actually going to hold the planter on the drywall. Just like that. It kind of wedges it on there. And I've actually had this planter sitting in the drywall with my water bottle filled up with water, leaning out like this. And as you can see, I'll give you some close-up shots on this after, but you can see that there's actually no breakage or damage to the installation, to the nail going into the drywall. I've had most of my planters, actually all the planters that I've installed using a nail, and there's never been any issues. So this is definitely my recommended installation method, but like I said, you're absolutely free to use the wall anchors and the screws. Those can also be good in, I'm just thinking of a scenario if you want to drill into concrete or something. Now the anchors that we provided are more drywall anchors, but there's scenarios where screws are the only option, like you can't hammer in a nail, so then it makes sense. But honestly, in most cases, I would suggest doing the nail. And if you're not allowed to make holes in the wall, we have the damage-free hooks now. So those are a good option as well, so long as you prep everything properly. This being said, I'm just gonna, for the other part of this video, I'm just gonna show you some of the tools that I use when installing. There's an app on my phone actually that's free to use for making sure things are level. Let me just remind myself what it's called. Bubble Level is the name of the app. There's probably a ton of these. Super useful. There's just a bunch of ads, unfortunately, but you can just see how to level stuff, and then you can just go in with a ruler or a tape measure and follow the measurements on the instruction cards. I'll make another little video just showing how I do that. Okay, so this part should be pretty straightforward. Basically, I'm just going to be measuring out where I want to put my wall planters, making a little dot, and then hammering in the nails. So I'm gonna use a boho pattern for a set of 3 planters here. I want them to go vertically down the wall here to cover up some scuffs on the wall. Also, this is a pretty big open wall here, so I just want to add some character. If you have a ruler, that's actually easier to use than a tape measure. Right now, all I've got is the tape measure, so I'm just going to use this. And I'm just going to go ahead and I will mention, if a more advanced way to do this for certain spaces is to actually take a photo of the wall or the space where you want to put the planters. And then even just using your Photos app on your phone, you can make, do little designs, like just basically make little circles for where you might want to put the planters, or draw a square if you want to put the planters in a grid, just to get a sense of how things would look best in terms of the positioning. Because this is such an open space, I'm not going to bother to do that, but I'll drop a link under this video that gives more information on exactly how to do that. But it, like I mentioned, it should be as easy as just taking a picture on your phone and then using the Photos app to just make some drawings. I think most phone operating systems have that option. All right, so I'm just eyeballing this. I think I'm gonna put the bottom planter here because there's actually already a hole in my wall. And then so I'm gonna measure up from that. And so it's going to be, I just have to double check the directions here. Yeah, so it's gonna be 8 inches up and then 9 inches to the right. So for measuring up, oftentimes I'll just dangle my ruler or my tape measure, and that should give me a vertical line. So 8 inches up, I just have a colored pencil here that I'm using. And then I mentioned this earlier in the video, but I have an app on here for leveling things. Bubble Level is what it's called. And then, so what you want to do is hold that in position, put the tape measure, and we're going for 9 inches here. So 9 inches right about there. And then basically, so we're going to have one planter down here, one up here, and then another one up here. So we'll go up another 8 inches. And that will be the position for the third planter. So we'll have 1, 2, 3 right here. So now I'm just going to hammer in the nails. And again, I already have a hole here, but it's a little bit smaller than my nail. And so the most important thing here is you really want to put these in at an angle and tap them in so they're about 1/4 inch away from the wall. That would be my recommendation. And again, hammering this in on an angle. I'll film this up close so you can see how I put these nails in. And final one right here. Oops. Small tip for these more delicate nails, it's easier if you hold the hammer closer to the head versus having it all the way at the back here. All right, so that's it for the nails. Now let's get the plant set up and I'll show you how everything looks.